And we are live. Hi, Ivy.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
So, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
So we're live on tonight's edition of our session on job hunting with Fuzu, specifically for graduates. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes for people to join us, and then we can begin.
Perfect.
So for those of you joining us, I'm Kim, and we just want you to let us know where you're joining from, the industry you're in, and what you're looking to learn today. So we'll just give people a couple of minutes to join. We can start in about 2 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. So Ivy, I think in the interest of time, actually, because it's now 9:02, we'll just begin.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can start by introducing ourselves. So
Yeah.
I'll start.
Okay.
So hi everyone, welcome to yet another LinkedIn live session brought to you by Career Kickstart Kenya. And Career Kickstart Kenya is an organization that's committed to empowering emerging young professionals to help them drive their own professional development. So what we do is we empower the youth, particularly the locals, and we empower them to be able to present themselves not just locally in their career development, but also globally. So empowering local talent for global markets. That's one of our taglines. And today's topic is especially relevant for recent graduates as we dive into the whole aspect of job hunting, job searching in particular. And I'm Kim. I'm one of the directors of Career Kickstart Kenya. And we're thrilled tonight to have Ivy, who's the head of marketing at Fuzu. And she's going to let us know a little bit more about Fuzu and how it basically supports job seekers. So, Ivy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kim, for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today speaking about this really crucial topic of job hunting for graduates. I believe that what we'll discuss today is especially relevant for graduates, but it can truly be applied across the board. So whether you're a professional in your senior years or whether you're just starting out, this conversation is going to be relevant to you. Now, to your question, Kim, so Fuzu is a career development platform, and we support job seekers from entry-level professionals to senior professionals, and we provide them with personalized career guidance, resources on how they can develop their skills, and access to a wide range of job opportunities. We've been in Kenya for about 10 years now, and we're also present in Uganda and in Nigeria.
Great. So, thank you for that overview. And I know at Fuzu, like you have a forum where there are a number of career resources available for job seekers. So Are you able to tell us what are some of the mistakes and pitfalls that new graduates make when they're starting out on their job search, particularly when it comes to the application process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the most common mistakes that we see with new graduates is just failing to customize your job application. So you could actually be applying to 2 jobs with the same role title, and for purposes of this example, let's use sales representative. So these 2 jobs have different job descriptions. For example, one might require someone with field sales experience, and the other might require you to have CRM experience. But let's also remember that these are different companies. They have different values. They have different missions. And you feel like because, I applied to a sales rep job last week, I can just copy and paste my application for this new sales rep job that I'm seeing this week. So failing to capture these important elements in your keywords, in your CV, it automatically cuts you off, especially if there's an ATS involved. And an ATS is basically a software that ranks you based on your application to match the requirements of the role from the highest to the least. So it's super important to tailor your application. It helps to increase your chances of ranking higher for the role and ultimately being selected for an interview. So that's one of the common mistakes. Another one that I could cite is lack of networking. So networking is something that people can easily overlook, but it plays a really big role into getting your foot in the door, especially as you go higher up in your career. Hiring managers tend to rely on referrals to get suitable candidates. Now, this is not to say that they won't do their due diligence or tests or skill assessments, but referrals, which you get from networking, can very easily put you at the top of the pile. Yeah. So those 2 mistakes: failing to take networking seriously, and just copy and pasting your application or using the same application for every job that you're applying for.
Okay, great, thanks. And as somebody who works in this industry as well, when it comes to tailoring your resumes and cover letters, it does take a lot of work. I think that's one thing that we should mention. It's not a one size fits all, like you rightly said. And what this does, and it also allows you to be more engaged in the process of job search. So it's not a case of just like, oh, I need to apply. It's not sending out just mass applications. I think the more attention to detail you pay in the application process, the more likely, like you said, you're going to be recognized by recruiters. Great.
Yeah.
So the next question is, how can graduates highlight relevant skills and experiences from college on their resumes and in interviews?
Yeah. So as a general rule of thumb, I always say highlight your achievements as opposed to just putting down a generic list of roles and responsibilities that we already know Google has, So highlight your achievements and what kind of impact you had. Hiring managers actually just want to see the impact of what you've done. So give concrete examples, quantify them wherever it's possible. So for example, if you're in sales, as the example that I had given earlier, you can say, for example, I increased revenue by 15% during the time that I served with company X. And be prepared to, back up with relevant examples should they be brought up to you in an interview. So if you're currently working somewhere, it's always good to have that listed down somewhere so that anytime you achieve something remarkable in your work, something remarkable in your work, you can put it down and you can be able to cite these examples in your CV. So concrete examples, quantify them, and it will make you stand out even more.
Super. And a lot of people might not know, oh, but what are some of these concrete examples that I can put? And I think if you can touch on that a bit, as opposed to just being like how can they get this information from university that they can actually transfer now to their CVs?
So for example, so let's take an example of someone who has not had any relevant work experience or hasn't worked before. So they're straight out of campus, but they've done an internship here and there, or they were a student leader. So you can give examples of stuff that you have done within the roles that you have been in. So for example, I organized this retreat for senior leaders, and it was able to get us from point X to point Y. So rather than just saying, I was the admin of ISEC, or I was the admin of KUSA, for example. So giving concrete examples of how your administrative skills came into play when you had a project that you are assigned. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think because a lot of people think they have to have a paying job for them to, employ or discover some of their skills and abilities. But the reality is, if the more you're engaged in activities within university, there's different communities that you can engage in at different capacities. And those are things that you can actually use to showcase that actually I led this team. Actually, I was behind this event, or I supported this cause. So there's very, very different ways that you can showcase your skills and abilities without it being in actual paid employment. Great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other question is, for those who, actually we've answered it, for those with little or no professional work experience, what are some of their ways to make their applications and interviews stand out? You touched on that. You talked about networking. You talked about the ability, volunteering, freelancing, participating in relevant projects, which also helps gain practical skills. It helps you demonstrate your passion for a chosen field, and also highlighting your academic achievements and extracurricular activities in application. So even if you're involved in sports teams, if you're involved in volunteer groups, so those are the kind of things that we mentioned. Okay, so the next question then, do you want to add on to something else?
Yeah, maybe if I could just add. So for some people, they might have a very lax sort of like lifestyle in campus, so that you're not into sports, you're not into student leadership. So you're like, what am I going to put into my CV? So I just want to give an example from someone that is in my life, a friend of mine, and she was recently struggling with something like this. But after our chat, I found out that she had worked for her parents' company. So like a hardware store. She didn't think it was like much. She just thought, I'm part of this family. This is where we show up to work every day. But she didn't think it was relevant to add something like that into her CV. So maybe that could also be you. You don't have like actual things that you've done or projects that you are part of in your campus, but you do things at home where you support family with their business and with ideas and that sort of thing. So take that into account as something valuable. You can put it into ChatGPT and be like, I invoiced once a week, and I dealt with suppliers, and let ChatGPT clean it up for you into actionable items that you can then put into your CV. So don't feel like, I'm just here, I have nothing to offer the world. You do. So yeah, you can use that as an example too.
Yeah, I really like that. I like the fact that you're not restricting it to just, the educational professional setting. I think when we're reviewing CVs, and we usually have like a questionnaire that we ask people to fill in prior to us revamping their CV. And the reason why we do that, because a lot of people tend to be like, oh my gosh, I really don't want to do this. Can't I just send you my CV and you work magic? But we can't, because we need to really understand you and where you're coming from. And one of the key things that we noticed as we go through this process is that so many people are underselling themselves and what it is that they actually do. So for you, it might just be like a mundane day-to-day task, but it's actually a skill that you're able to quantify and transfer into a professional setting. So don't overlook what it is that you do, because for you, you're just seeing it as, something that comes naturally to you, or something that you just expected to do. But it's actually an achievement in many different facets. So it's a case of just, bringing that out of you. So I like that. Okay, the next question. Guys, please put your questions in comments below and we'll get through them as we're going through the conversation. So we talked about now some of those skills and how they come out in different opportunities that we're given. So touching more on skills and going deeper into skills, what are some of these transferable skills from college, like time management, public speaking, that are valued by employers hiring, particularly for entry-level positions?
I like that one that you've just pointed out, time management, because it's one of the big ones. And I'll give you an example. So if you show up late to an interview without prior communication, without prior notice, it really hurts your credibility as a professional. We have this old saying, it's Kenyan timing. Guys, please don't do that in the professional setting. Keep time, and that will help to improve your credibility. Another one I would point out is communication skills. So your ability to communicate your thought process with confidence, that really sets you apart. And psychologically, people associate confidence with competence. So the more you show up in a confident manner, people believe that, you can get the job done. So show up confidently in terms of how you speak. Your written communication also has a big part to play. So if you're writing your CV with errors, oh my goodness, no, we cannot do that in 2024. So please install free tools like Grammarly, so that it can check any typos that you have, and it can also help to improve the clarity of your work. So those are the two, that I would say: time management and effective communication.
Great. And as Kenyans, the time management seems to be one of the areas where we can improve on quite a bit, right? Because I feel like a lot of people, what they do, especially when we're going through the interview process with some of our clients, or even just going through their CVs and trying to understand the kind of jobs that they're looking for. One of the things we notice is that, and we really emphasize, is like, if I spot the spelling mistake, trust you me, the recruiter has spotted it as well. And it might seem like a very minor detail to you, like, oh, I just misspelled this. But the reality is it's enough to disqualify you from the entire process. Because in their mind, they're thinking, if you didn't even take the time to review this CV and to check it for spelling mistakes, then why should I bother, So it's really important. And like you said, there are enough tools for you to check your CV and to ensure that you don't make the little mistakes that will cost you a lot in the end. And time management as well, guys. Show up for your interviews, not on time, show up early. That speaks volumes about your character as well. So if you're supposed to be there at, let's say, 1, be there at 12:45. Just plan your time, because that will show that if you're able to show up on time, it means that you're a responsible person, and it also that you're dependable. And yes, there are some things that are out of our control, but that's now where you're saying communication comes in. So you're able to text the interviewer or the recruiter and say, hey, I'm on my way. Unfortunately, XYZ has happened, but I just want to let you know I'm on my way. Don't just show up 15 minutes later and be like, oh, something happened on the way. No, keep them in the loop, so that by the time you get there, if you've been late or based on circumstances that are out of your control, they'll give you some sort of empathy for the situation, as opposed to just being like, but why didn't you say, this is what you are going through? So always keep people in the loop. It's really, really important.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add to that point, for example, if you're attending a physical interview, an in-person interview, and it's to a place that you've never been before. So for example, it's in Riverside. Most people, that's not an area that they frequent. Go there a day before or a week before. Just get familiar. No, I'm taking these matatus to this area, or, I can get an Uber or someone can drop me. But go there, go to the building, survey, understand the plan, the layout. Maybe you might want to grab a drink, a coffee, or a lunch afterwards. It just also helps to put you at ease, so that everything is not just foreign on the day of the interview, where you're required to show up in your most authentic self. So do your research, do a reconnaissance, and it really helps to ease you into the interview.
Great. Yeah, I totally agree with you 100%. I think a lot of people think just because you've gotten the interview, you're there. Actually, you're not, because you have to even be more meticulous about your planning as you're preparing for the interview, researching the company, understanding their culture, understanding their values, going through that job description and really understanding what is it that they actually require from me. And even trying to figure out what it is that you can provide value for them and what they're providing value for you. Because a lot of times it's a two-way process. So go there with an open mind, and the more research, an open mind in terms of the expectations, but also in terms of asking questions to the employers in regard to, okay, this is the role you're recruiting for. How is it that I can add value to the organization? Because a lot of people think that interview process is one-sided, but I believe that you should also be able to go there and ask questions. And it's actually quite impressive when you ask questions to the recruiter or the interviewer, because it shows that you've actually taken the time to research about the company.
Yeah, exactly. And you're more memorable that way. People remember you.
Yes, definitely. So we know that Fuzu has amazing and a vast array of resources. And one of the things we wanted to find out is how can users effectively use your search tools and your filters to find relevant job opportunities?
Yeah, good question. So the jobs page on Fuzu can allow you to refine your job search based on different criteria like industry, location, role title, and even experience level. Maybe, Kim, I can share my screen at this point so that I'm just I can
Yes,
demonstrate
please do.
a bit better. Alrighty, one moment. Yeah. So this is my personal Fuzu profile. So you'll see jobs here just related to marketing. However, if you want to search, or how you can use this search filters for your benefit. So the first thing is, obviously, I've mentioned that we're in different countries. Please come and filter jobs in Kenya. You can also omit this if you want to look for a remote job, and if those specific jobs say that you can work from anywhere in the continent. But for purposes of this demonstration, let's just filter jobs in Kenya. I'll also use this seniority filter here to just access entry level and basic level jobs that are relevant to the people who are joining this webinar. So graduates. So this is what we end up with. I can also filter by job title, by profession, by industry. Let me pick this, administrative and clerical jobs. So you can see this number keeps coming down. And that's because we are narrowing our search through and through. So one cool thing is that on the left panel, you can be able to see the different jobs that have showed up for this particular search filters. If you want to look at the actual job, you can access it here. So review the roles and the responsibilities. And then, as we said, guys, tailor your application. And then if you're interested, you can hit apply. So this particular job is for an examination associate at Strathmore University. It's actually closing today. So if you're watching this and you're interested, please feel free to apply for this role before midnight. Something else I can point out is that we have a Fuzu app. So it's only available for Android users at this point. iPhone users, we're working on you guys. So you can download it from App Store, or you can just come, from Play Store. You can just come to Fuzu and then download the app. Fuzu on your browser, and then be able to download the app. So that's how you can use Fuzu to narrow down your job search. Pick from any profession here that you're interested in. Kim, if we have someone in the comment section that wants us to narrow down for their role title, perhaps we can also do that now or towards the end of the call, so that we can show with an actual example and be able to demonstrate how to do that on Fuzu.
Sure. So guys, yes, if you can, if for those of you who are currently in the job search time of your life, why don't you send us a title that you're looking for. So basically an aspirational career role title, and Ivy has gratefully volunteered to show us how we can go through that process. So for those of you who are in the job search right now, please let us know what jobs it is you're looking for, and then we can have like an actual demonstration of that.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for those to come through, and then I'll select one. I'll just see those who comment, and then we can go through one. So in the meantime, we can continue with our questions. If there are any other questions, please ask. So let me remove you from sharing.
All right.
So yeah, that was really helpful. Thanks, Ivy. I guess what we can do actually in the meantime is maybe we can explore Fuzu from Ivy's perspective, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
like, for example, they can come, they can build their profile and that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. So if you don't have a Fuzu account, as I mentioned, go to Play Store and search for Fuzu and then download the app. If you prefer to use browser, you can just go to fuzu.com or search for Fuzu on Google or Bing or whatever search engine you're using, and then pick whatever pops up as the number one thing. I recommend that you use the app, especially if you're a fresh graduate and you're in the market for jobs, because the app will, send you relevant alerts for jobs, new jobs that are being posted daily. So that helps to sort of like increase that accountability, especially as you start out in the process. So I would highly recommend that you use the app on your phone. It's super easy. It doesn't take up much space on your phone. Yeah, I know most of us are concerned about that, and also doesn't use up much data. So that's what I would advise fresh graduates.
Okay, thanks, Ivy. And when building profiles, what are some of the things that they should do? Because you see, the temptation is just to put the bare minimum of information. But really, what would make a profile stand out, particularly on your platform?
Yeah, so think of your Fuzu profile as your digital footprint. So the same way that you would invest into building your LinkedIn profile so that you increase your visibility and chances of recruiters seeing you, think of your Fuzu profile in that context. Except that in this case, we have recruiters in Kenya who are actively hiring that are seeing your profile. So make sure that you complete your profile. It has up-to-date information. It has accurate information. And then the second thing to also increase your visibility and to catch the recruiter's attention is to tailor your applications. We've spoken about this earlier. So have a list of achievements as opposed to just a generic list of roles and responsibilities, so that it helps to improve your chances of standing out to the employer. Maybe I could also speak about the different features that Fuzu has. So we have a really cool feature called instant feedback. And what this does, it helps you to see how you rank against top applicants for a role. So you can also get pointers on how to improve your profile so you can rank higher for that particular role. And it goes for about 170 shillings if you're just purchasing it without Fuzu points, but you can also get a discount if you have Fuzu points so that you can be able to purchase that feature. So those are the things. In summary, maybe I can summarize real quick. Complete your profile, tailor your CV and cover letter, and take advantage of features like instant feedback so that you can get insights on how to improve your profile. Real quick, how to access instant feedback. If you're on Fuzu and you're actively applying for a role, you will see a pop-up just that says instant feedback or get instant feedback, and can be able to click on that and then follow the steps in order to purchase and use the feature for your advantage.
Great, thanks, Ivy. So there's actually so much that a graduate can access from your website in relation to the job search, process, and it's not just about going in there and looking for a job and applying. It's also about ensuring that by the time you're applying, you've actually built a comprehensive profile that will get you the responses that you want. Because a lot of times people are like, why I've applied for so many jobs and I'm not getting a response, or I'm not getting called to the interview stage. And one of the key reasons for that from our side as Career Kickstart, is that we notice that they're not tailoring their applications for the jobs. So you have to tailor your cover letter for the job. You can't use the same cover letter for multiple job applications, as well as building your profiles. Your profiles need to speak comprehensively about you and the skills that you're willing to offer. And I noticed that also on Fuzu, that you have a number of free courses as well as paid courses where people can actually learn and upskill, which is really important in this day and age. Ensuring that you're up to date and that you have the relevant skills to match the requirements for the jobs that are out there that you're applying for. So there's really, there are less and less excuses as to why you're not able to get an increased response rate when it comes to the job application space, because the reality is recruiters get so many applications a day, right? Yeah. So how do you expect to stand out if you yourself are not putting in more of an effort, right? And it's really like what you put in is what you get out when it comes to the job search process. In fact, today on IG, we had posted a question about about the similarities between looking for a partner and looking for a job. Because we had read an article about how there's so many similarities in strategies, right? So, for example, we'll give the analogy of looking for a partner. When you're looking for a partner, depending on how you're looking, you'll just be swiping, right? But if you're looking, depending on the type of partner, but if you're serious about this and you're looking for a long-term partner, then you're going to take more time and you're going to invest, more of yourself in the process, as opposed to if you're just swiping. So I think that's an analogy that you can use also when it comes to applying for jobs. Like, how serious are you about this process? How serious are you about actually getting this job? What does it mean for you? And the more you reflect about your career, then I think the more time you're going to take to ensure that whatever you put out there is meaningful. So yeah, that was a perspective when it comes to this process. And it starts as early as when you graduate. It just becomes easier as you go along, because there's some disciplines that you have to cultivate when it comes to job searching. And maybe you can touch on some of the disciplines of job searching and what it means to be disciplined in your job search.
Yeah. I saw this quote, someone on my Instagram, I hope you're watching because I'm mentioning you now, and they posted that consistency beats raw talent any day, and that's number one of the disciplines. Be consistent. You can't say, I've applied to 10 jobs today, or I've applied to 10 jobs this month, I've not had back, so I'm closing this book, I'm not doing this thing anymore. No, just be consistent. Show up consistently every day. Tailor your application. Do it right. Use resources like Fuzu and Career Kickstart to show you perhaps where the gaps are. But show up consistently and do it, because there is a reward at the end of the day. We also, personally, I struggled to look for a job, my very first job straight out of campus, for about 5-6 months. And I was knee deep in it when my friends were, they had already gotten jobs at PwC and KPMG, and they were in, all these amazing audit firms. I didn't want to go that route, so I had to, put in the work and to look for the job that I desired. So it does take time, but show up consistently and be disciplined in your search. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also because of the times that we live in, we have this thing of having a quick fix or mentality where you think if you apply for the first job, you're going to get a response. Yeah. But that's rarely what happens, to be honest. And I think it's a process that is going to test your patience. It is a process that is going to test your confidence. And it is also a process that is going to test your resilience, because I think right now, we also we did a survey and we asked people what are some of the challenges when it comes to job searching, particularly for graduates. And one of the top answers that we received was bouncing back or coming back from rejection of the job applications that they keep getting. So the reality is nobody likes to be rejected in anything. But I feel that rejection when it comes to job searching is not a personal thing, and that we need to distinguish that you're not being rejected as a person, you're just not the fit for this role, if that makes sense, or there's somebody better for the role. You could actually be qualified for the role, but there's maybe someone else who is better qualified for the role. That doesn't mean you can't do it, it's just somebody else can do it better. So the rejection process, actually how you process the rejection is very important when it comes to job searching, because it will allow you to understand that, okay, maybe this time I wasn't good for this role, but I'll keep trying and I'll apply for this one and I'll apply for this one. What could I have learned from that previous application that I made? And you know what? It's also important to seek feedback from employers and say, hey, okay, I received the rejection. Could you please let me know why I wasn't suitable or qualified for the role? What areas of improvement do you think that I should focus on? Because those are things that will ultimately build you and make you more confident in making applications in future. So don't get too hung up on the rejections. Look at them as stepping stones to getting your job, actually, because there are quite a few quotes that go out there that every rejection is actually a stepping stone to you being accepted finally. The question is, what are you learning during that process? How are you making yourself better? How are you engaging with employers to ensure that, okay, yes, these are some areas I need to improve on. I'm really good here. I'm not so good here. How do I close the gap in my skills? So redefining your mindset about job application rejection is very, very important, because otherwise you get very demotivated and then you stop the process altogether. And if you do, that doesn't really help you at all. So my advice is just to continue and to remain motivated in the process and try and use it as a learning step.
Yeah, and I think, Kim, it could also just be a systemic issue based on how our education setup has been framed. You know, the smartest person gets rewarded, the smartest person gets scholarships. So you might have been rewarded consistently throughout your life, and then you come into this rude job market where you're smart, you're intelligent, your skill set, all those things, but then you're not getting the job, and you start questioning yourself, what am I doing wrong? What could I possibly need to do better? And then it's even worse when you hear people, that your friends who you think you're smarter than them, you hear these people are winning and they're getting jobs, and you really start to get into this rabbit hole of, perhaps then I'm not good enough. No, just keep trying, stay consistent, and something that you deserve, something that is suited for you, will come your way.
I totally agree, especially when you start comparing yourselves. Comparison, number one, is the thief of joy. And who are you comparing yourself to at the end of the day? I think when you compare yourself to others, you're giving yourself already a disadvantage and a disservice, in terms of the fact that you have different backgrounds, you have different educational levels, you have different mindsets, you have different ways of doing whatever you do. So how are you even comparing yourself with others? Based on what? The criteria is so vast, it's impossible to even start comparing yourself with others. The only person you need to compare yourself with is yourself. And by comparing yourself with yourself, it means you're looking at where you've come from, and you're making sure that you have milestones and you're hitting those milestones. So you say to yourself, I was supposed to have been here. These were the steps I was supposed to take in order to get from point A to point B. Have I done it? No. So it's just about assessing yourself against the criteria that you have developed for you, based on your skills, based on your abilities, based on your knowledge, not on everybody else. And that's why we really emphasize on career planning. Because another thing about job search that I think we need to talk about is the jobs that you're applying for. Are they how it's not just applying for a job, but how does that job fit into your career plan, right? Because you might find a lot of people like, oh, I've applied for this job, I've applied for that job. But what does that job actually mean in terms of you and the value you're going to add in that organization? It's not just about landing a job, because ultimately, a job is not a career. And I think that's something that we need to distinguish. That a job forms your career, and it's a stepping stone towards creating what we look as the holistic your career, your professional career. But it's just one aspect of it. So how do you ensure that these jobs that you're taking, these volunteer positions, unpaid or unpaid, how do they contribute to your overall career path? And you'll only know that if you actually plan your career. And what that looks like is you deciding, okay, and by the way, it starts as early as university, because you've picked your course. You picked your course knowing you want to end up in this professional field, right? So by the time you pick that course, you knew that I need to have certain skills to be able to graduate successfully and apply for jobs and be successful in the process of acquiring this job. So it's not just about because initially we were like, oh, I'm really interested in this. Let's say I'm interested in marketing, right? I've always been interested in it. But what does it take to actually become a marketer? Those are things you can even research about prior to you even doing the course, because you might find that you're interested in marketing as a profession, but when it comes to your degree, it's nothing compared to what you thought it was going to be, or vice versa, right? So you could do marketing because you loved it and it was great for you in university. Then you enter into the professional field and you're just like, what? This is nothing compared to what I thought it was going to be. So I feel there's a part where you have to do your due diligence and make sure that you understand what it means to be a professional within that particular industry. I don't know what your thoughts are around that. Maybe you can share.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. And I think even in the same line, perhaps, so let me give an example with myself. So I studied economics and statistics. At the point at which I chose that course, it was basically because I loved math, and I felt like I did really well in math. So let me pick the thing that's closest to math that I meet the requirements for. Now, right around the time when I started looking for jobs, interestingly, I did not want to work. I just wanted to set up my own business. Yeah, here I am, almost 9 years later, still in employment, but we move. But it was really hard for me to sort of like find that bearing. Like, okay, so I studied this. What do economics and statisticians do? Where do they work? So what happened was I looked at what you're saying, career planning. I looked at my end goal, where I wanted to be in the long run. And I talked to a couple of people who are in the entrepreneurial space. And one thing that kept coming up was you need to get good at sales. You need to be really good at marketing. You need to know how to speak about your product. And that's basically how I ended up in marketing. So talking to people that have done or are doing what you seemingly want to do, it might not be so clear. Let's be honest, most people have no idea what their career will look like at 21, 22 years, which is around the age at which they graduate. So talk to people who've made it. Talk to people who you think have made it, because we're also still trying to figure out this entire thing. So, and that will help you realize, okay, so these are the gaps that I have. This is perhaps the jobs that I need to get into or the industry that I need to get into. And then you start to frame that slowly as you go along. You start applying for those jobs. It gives you confidence when you start attending interviews. And finally, when you end up within the roles. So that's what I would add onto what you just said.
Awesome. And I think what we're saying is quite imperative, particularly before you even start the job search process, if you ask me, because that way it acts as that filter, the pre-filter before you filter the jobs that you're applying for, because it narrows down your scope. This thing of just shooting aimlessly and hoping that, you get whatever you can in the process, it's really not, it's not the best process. It's exhausting. The reality, they say finding a job or looking for a job is a job in itself. Like you literally, one of the things I remember is like I had to craft out specific time to look for a job. And it's so exhausting. It takes a lot from you mentally. And by the way, if it's not, then you need to think about your. So some people are lucky. Let's face it. Some people are genuinely lucky. But if you're intentional about the process, there's some people who can attest to the fact that it can be very, very draining, mentally draining. And that leads now to the next part of this session, where we're going to say, where you tell us about what sets Fuzu apart, because ultimately the purpose of this session is to ensure that a lot of you who are watching, or those who watch this now or later, will become more proactive and actually go onto the platform and register yourselves and start the job search process. And I know that you're committed to providing comprehensive support on your platform, particularly for job seekers. And you've got a number of job listings, you've got all these resources that people can use for as little as 300 shillings. You can even craft your CV, right? And and you have career coaching, you have resume writing, you have networking opportunities, and actually your interface is quite user friendly. So maybe you can just give us. I'm a graduate. I've watched this. I want to start now job searching. And you've already taken us through how your interface works when you search for a job, because there are no comments in relation to people who are looking for jobs, so we can't really use an example. But if you can take us through the journey of, okay, I've graduated, I'm looking for a job, I've watched this, I'm joining Fuzu. How would I engage with the interface?
Yeah. So before I go into that, let me just speak to to the first question that you had asked about what sets Fuzu apart. So Fuzu basically takes a holistic approach to supporting job seekers, or career builders, as we call them here at Fuzu. So we built the platform to address the different stages of the user journey. So if you have skill gaps, you're fresh out of uni, so perhaps you want to, or rather the job applications that you're seeing have certain level of skills that are required that you don't currently possess. We provide free and paid for courses so that you can be able to address those skill gaps. We also provide personalized career guidance, and we have a ton of free resources in the form of articles, in the form of videos, in the form of podcasts, and you can use this to learn about specific topics that you're interested in. And most importantly, we have credible jobs that you can apply to. So maybe I can then share my screen just to show like how to navigate the platform. Give me one moment. Here we go. Okay. So you've logged into Fuzu. This is what you would see. So right here, it would have welcome back, your name. It would also show what level your Fuzu account is on. So please aim for advanced and higher, as we had talked about optimizing your profile. And then this here is Fuzu Points. So Fuzu Points is like a reward program whereby you gain points when you consistently browse through Fuzu and use the platform, and when you refer people to Fuzu, your friends to Fuzu. I have a ton because I work at Fuzu, but they would be displayed here. And you can use Fuzu points to redeem. You can redeem Fuzu points anytime you want to purchase paid products on Fuzu. So yeah, browse and refer your friends and you can earn Fuzu points. So the first thing maybe I can touch on is the courses. So you can come here to the Learn section, which will be at the top of your menu, and browse through different courses. So mine, again, will be tailor-made to marketing because that's what I've tailor-made my profile for. So if you're in accounting, you will see accounting and finance courses here. Yeah. So some of them are free, most of them are free, and most of them are paid for courses. And for all the paid for courses, you will get certification once you complete the course. And then here we have Forum, which is our blog page. So we give inspiration and advice on different topics, so you can get to read through these stories. We have like personal stories, for example, here, which is relevant for someone who might be watching this. And this lady shared her story of how she felt defeated after 2 years of job hunting. So this is, to tell you that you're not going through this alone. It's not a unique problem that you're facing. People out here are facing it. So she talks about how she was able to turn around her story and use Fuzu to actually land the job that she currently has. So these articles are absolutely free to browse. You can check them out. And then let's now go to the jobs page. I'll just go over this one more time for perhaps someone who has just joined. You can filter different things such as location. So make sure to filter jobs in Kenya. If you want jobs in a specific industry, for example, let's pick this banking and microfinance and insurance jobs. You can also pick, okay, sorry. You can also pick this so that it filters to the exact jobs that you want. Also make sure to filter by seniority, whether you want entry level or whether you want to go for mid-level jobs. So perhaps you're not a very fresh graduate, you've worked for about a year or two, you can filter by mid-level jobs. And then just click on show jobs and you'll get a list of the roles that you can apply for. So that's basically how to navigate Fuzu. If you need any support from Fuzu, so this icon right here for the messaging icon, you can be able to get in touch with us and just, write messages to us like, hi, I need help, and then send it through. Someone will get in touch with you. Yeah. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you, Ivy. One of the things I wanted to ask is, do you actually have internship opportunities on your website?
Yes, we do have lots of internship opportunities. Let me see if I can actually filter. So the seniority, I don't think I'm sharing my screen anymore. Hold on.
No, sorry, I had. If you can just present one more time.
That's fine. So this filter right here.
Oh, let's see.
Sorry, say that again.
No, I guess because one of the questions that we get a lot is that there's difficulty in finding internship opportunities.
Okay, yeah, you can filter based on entry and basic level. So this would include either roles that have fewer than 3 years work experience or that require no experience at all. You can also filter by, so let me take this out. You can also filter by the word intern. And if it appears in the role title, sorry, what am I typing? If it appears in the role title, then it will appear here as well. So, okay, so this has like internal auditor. Let's remove that for entry and basic. Yeah, so research intern, marketing intern. Yeah, you can filter by intern, the word intern and entry and basic level, and then scroll through the left panel to see the exact jobs.
Good. So that is just emphasizing how important it is to filter your job search, to narrow down your options so that you're not spending so much time applying for jobs that are basically redundant, particularly in your like if you're a graduate, why you're applying for mid-level positions when the requirements are pretty clear that they need, specific skill set that you haven't even had time to acquire yourself. So yeah.
Okay.
Great. Okay. So we still haven't received any questions yet. I guess we'll give it a couple more minutes. However, I wanted to just thank you so much for taking this time. And,
Sure.
I'm sure a lot of people will find this discussion extremely useful and insightful. Personally, I've learned a lot, especially in terms of the fact that you're not just a job site in the sense where you just go and you're just applying for jobs. you've actually
Yeah.
taken initiative to ensure that those who are on using your platform have the necessary resources to apply for
Yeah.
specific roles, and you're actually even equipping them by providing them with opportunities to upskill through the various resources that you provide. So that way,
Yeah.
it's not a situation of like, oh, here's a job, just apply. Here's a job, just apply, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this has come from years and years of research in terms of where the gaps are with job seekers, specifically in Kenya. As I said, we've been here for about 10 years. So we speak to users directly. So what are your challenges? Where, what can we do to meet or to address these gaps? So we've designed these products directly after interacting with users and seeing where the gaps are, and in an effort to address those gaps and to provide something that's more holistic.
Yeah, that's important. So you basically improved by watching and learning from your users so that it becomes more
Yeah.
of a user-friendly experience and
Mm-hmm.
interface. I like that.
Exactly.
And then you're able to accommodate whether you're an intern, whether you're looking for internships, or you're looking for high level, mid level kind of jobs. So that's
Yes.
important. So even after they've gone through that process of applying for jobs in the intern space, now they can even continue using that to build their career until they get to, you know, SM senior management level. So
Yeah,
I think, yeah,
absolutely.
it's one of those platforms that you can actually grow with.
Exactly.
It remains
Exactly.
relevant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ivy. I guess that's a wrap on tonight's session on maximizing your job search with Fuzu. And I trust that you found the session and the discussion insightful. And if you don't have comments now, you can always send us comments later. And I'm sure now you're more prepared for the job search. It's not all doom and gloom, despite what everybody says out there. Because you hear a lot like them. Um, you keep hearing people saying there are no jobs, there are no jobs, there are no jobs. As we've seen,
Mm-hmm.
there are quite a few jobs out there. Yeah,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
there's this rhetoric that people keep saying there's no jobs, there's no jobs. But the
Yeah.
reality is that actually there are. It's just a case of how are you looking for them, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So we hope that we'll be able to embark on this new job search journey with confidence and with zeal. And once again, thank you so much, Ivy, for your time. We wish you all a
Mhm.
fantastic evening. Until next time, take care and be blessed.
Bye. Thanks, Kim.
Bye.